Not many people enjoy a trip to the MVD. There's a reason it's the butt of so many jokes.
For New Mexicans in one part of our state, it wasn't just a hassle. They were getting taken for a ride. On special assignment, News 13's Lizzie Mitri uncovers what workers are accused of doing with customers' money.
Word travels fast. In Fort Sumner, a village about 60 miles west of Clovis, people knew something wasn't right.
I don't know what happened, but it was a mess.
I have no doubt that I was ripped off.
2 city workers landed behind bars, charged with embezzling more than $40,000 from the very people they were hired to serve.
Ultimately, the law caught up with them.
It took more than a year.
And it did take time to get there, and I understand that. It took a little over a year because there were so many records to go through.
In that time, residents like Brenda Crocker say they were left in the dark.
They refused to discuss anything with us as victims. They refused to help us make anything right. They won't even inform us.
That's what Crocker told News 13 in December, just before the holidays. Concerns even the mayor echoed when we stopped by his office.
For a year now, we have gotten no more than it's coming. We don't know what it is.
The first sign of trouble came in December 2016. The Fort Sumner MVD office at City Hall closed unexpectedly after the village called state police about odd transactions. Police launched an investigation. Meanwhile,
To even get your driver's license, you have to take all your paperwork and go to Melrose or Santa Rosa.
Most of us are going to Clovis, which is a 60-mile drive one way. You're getting a number and waiting in line all day.
what's worse, when they did make the drive, they ran into more problems. Belinda Sursa says she sold her truck to a friend who paid for the title and registration more than a year ago.
But when she goes over this year to renew them, it still belongs to me.
Crocker got a similar response
Yep.
when she tried to renew the registration on a car she bought for her daughter.
I was informed this car doesn't even belong to you. The tags are bogus, the title's bogus, the registration's bogus.
Which came as a shock since she had paid $265 for it all at the Fort Sumner MVD back in 2015. At the time, village employee Alicia Segura worked there. In 2016, Tiana Gallegos joined her. A state police investigation now reveals both women admitted to stealing from people, voiding transactions for registrations and titles when customers paid in cash, and pocketing the money instead.
They saw an opening, they took it, and not realizing that there's ramifications for that.
Segura is charged with embezzling more than $32,000, Gallegos $9,000. Investigators say the women targeted about 200 people, affecting 550 transactions over the span of about a year. While Fort Sumner employed the women, the state is in charge of training them to conduct state business at the village-run MVD office.
So what kind of oversight does the MVD have over these offices?
In the past, obviously, some of these things were slipping through the cracks. Now we have a new computer system in place where we do basically daily audits of our transactions.
Ben Cloutier is the spokesperson for the state's Taxation and Revenue Department, which oversees the MVD. He says the new system requires a manager somewhere else in the state to look for mistakes and wrongdoing in hopes of catching problems sooner.
This is the one that they've got us now.
But Crocker says she's still struggling to get the MVD to correct the problems this latest crime caused.
I want a good title, a title that I can do something with the car.
This isn't the car trouble Crocker expected when she first bought it 2 years ago. Since then, she says she's had to get 3 titles, 2 within about a week of each other.
And she says it's still wrong.
The date of issue.
The original title shows the 2006 Ford Mustang was first registered in 2006. Makes sense. But she says since the city worker voided that title, replacements have been riddled with mistakes, like the most recent, which now states her 2006 car was never registered until just last year.
I do have a problem with it because if we went to sell it and left any papers or anything that showed that we had insurance on it prior to the purchase date, it's going to make it look like an iffy car.
We're going to work with every customer that was affected by these individuals to make them whole, and we're happy to work with those customers that need help, they need assistance. We have a hotline available.
The hotline he referred us to is the MVD's standard customer service line.
Thank you for calling the State of New Mexico's Motor Vehicle Division.
Crocker says after half an hour on the phone last week, the person on the other line didn't know anything about the problem in Fort Sumner and told her she had to make another trip to her nearest MVD office, which, as we've mentioned, is pretty far away.
It's been over a year that they haven't had an MVD office there. What would you like to say to people who are frustrated about that?
We absolutely understand your frustration.
He says the state is working with Debaca County and not Fort Sumner to open a new office in the village. That announcement and news of the arrests have victims hopeful they're at least on the road to justice now. On special assignment, Lizzie Mitri, KRQE News 13.
The village let one of the two suspects go after that investigation started because she was still in her probationary period. The other one was put in a different role for the past year where she would not be around money. The mayor did not think he could fire her until she was charged. She has now been fired.